Hi, I'm Trisha Winter, CMO at Amplifinity, and today I'm interviewing Mike Garrison, who's a business coach with a bunch of referral sales expertise. So, really excited to talk to you today, Mike. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, you're very welcome. After you told me the weather, I'm glad we're doing this on Zoom.
So, tell me a little bit, Mike. I've heard you talk before. I know that when you're working with your clients and really trying to coach what it means to get referrals predictably in a business. I've heard you talk about referral culture. So tell me a little bit about what you mean by that.
When I think of referral culture, I'm not looking at how do you just get referrals, but the entire system from every single employee in the organization, CEO to mailroom clerk. How does every single person not only play a role because they do, but play a role that you can leverage for predictable sales, right? I say predictable referral system, but really it's about can you forecast the sales results? And you can. And so referral culture is how do you look at the entire way that you interact with prospects and clients, not when you're infected with the next 30 virus, as I like to say, which is everything you do is about how can I get results right now. For example, CEOs, leadership is everything when you're considering the concept of referral culture. How, as a CEO, do you have to look at the culture of your organization and see whether it supports or doesn't support referrals on a continuous and predictable basis?
Got it. So truly, why is a CEO thinking about this, or should they be thinking about building this referral culture? I get where you're probably talking to the VP of sales and working through this, but what brings this on the radar of a CEO?
Well, the right kind of CEOs it works for, right? Those that are about leadership and about sustainable growth, wanting to be, do kind of their fiduciary standard of leadership, meaning that they're really about what's responsible for the best long-term interests of the organization. Everyone that is in business knows that referrals win. Nothing is better than a referral. So the question becomes, if referrals are truly that valuable, how can you make them the cornerstone? Not the only way you do business, but how can you make them the cornerstone? And in all of my years of working with sales teams, too many to admit to at this point, but in all my years, the number one thing that makes or breaks it is the referral culture. When I went up to visit you guys at Amplifinity, it was immediately apparent, which is nice since all you guys do is referrals, right? But it was immediately apparent that everyone in the business was invested in, was interested in customer success and the long-term growth of the company. And that's what I'm talking about. A CEO's got to be thinking about how can I make sure that 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, that we can be not only successful, but we can be unique. Branding is everything in a social world. Referral culture sets the standard so that marketing experts like yourself, right? So that people that answer phone calls from customers, every single person that interacts or affects the interaction with customers adds to or detracts from the culture of the business, and especially the referral culture.
And I completely agree, but I think that's a very different way of thinking. I think as an executive thinks about their business and approaches revenue growth, they're looking in a very siloed way at sales and marketing, maybe the channel organization, to say, okay, we've got to drive revenue growth. They're not thinking about it as every single employee in the company has a role in this. And that role may be very different from one department to the other, but truly culturally, it's a growth culture by being a referral culture. I think
Yes.
that's very new, but how would a CEO even approach this?
Well, one of the ways that they could approach it is read a book called Raving Fans by Ken Blanchard,
Okay.
which talks about how even the most commoditized the businesses, and mind you, this was before social media, right? But this is where referral culture started to stick for me. Is I read that book and it talked about how a gas station, a car driver, and a grocery store could create raving fans in their customers. and have spectacular growth, even within heavily commoditized industries. And so, from the CEO perspective, if you really want referrals, and we know you do, right? Whether you're ADP or whether you're Joe the plumber, right? Everyone wants referrals. The question is, instead of listening to all the people that come out and talk about little tactics here or tactics there, which, by the way, the only training out there on how to consistently give referrals, I believe, is mine. Everyone else is about how do you get, right? Which is important, but that doesn't make a referral culture. That's a predatory, old school sales, Glengarry Glen Ross culture. How effective is that, right? I refer to Wells Fargo. What happens when everybody's out to make just a quick sale? You lose massive market share. Every single person has to understand referral culture. And when you read raving fans, I don't care what your industry is. If you're a CEO, you want a culture that creates raving fans, both within your organization and within the marketplace. That's leadership.
So if you were to coach a CEO on how to build this referral culture within their organization, where would you tell them to start?
After the book.
After the book, yes.
Right. I would have them stroke a big check. Oh, sorry, that's after they hired me. I'm sorry. I would first ask them like all the standard questions, right? Coaches all have standard questions. So why are you in business? What are your customers? But when you get down to it, the fundamental core conversation I would have with that CEO, which is what I do all day long with CEOs, is I understand you're in business. How can we make it better? A referral culture is not how can we make money, how can we stay in business? It's about how can we make it better. And then I would ask that person to start getting face-to-face with as many employees from as many different sectors as possible. Silos kill referral culture. They just kill it. So I would be like, talk to your people and ask them, how can we make it better? Right? So we would probably start with leadership, because that CEO's vision, their leadership skill, not ability, skill, because you can train leadership, right? That's going to be what makes it rise or fall. Because when it's like at Ritz-Carlton, every single employee at a Ritz-Carlton has got a sum of money that they can immediately give, meaning in services, to any guest. They don't have to go up the chain of command. It's about how can we make it better. And what they figured out, I've heard the guy, Horst Schultz, who founded it, what they figured out is the quicker they can resolve a problem, the happier the client is. Same kind of thing here. There are people within even Amplifinity, right, that have got answers to questions that a CEO needs answered, but we'll never find out if they're afraid to talk to him or her.
Got it.
Right? So
now
CEOs got to live it. And by the way, CEOs can give and get referrals. I would hold them accountable to production.
So, a big thing that we find at Amplifinity when people are looking to get that revenue growth and they're looking to really build referral programs that together build a channel for predictably driving, inbound high quality leads. Really what we find that I think is interesting, and maybe it plays into the referral culture, is the idea that it's really a tightly aligned program between sales and marketing and often even customer success, customer support, any customer facing employee. I don't know of any other type of initiative that really goes cross department, really aligns the goals of these very typically siloed departments. Is that part of what you're talking about in building the culture?
Well, it's a whole system. You have to look at every aspect of your business, like technology, both within marketing and sales, but technology, and especially in larger companies. Your CTO, your technology experts have got to be involved, because you've got to be able to leverage relationships, not only face to face, but across networks. And that's one of the reasons why, we found each other, Amplifinity and my company. It's because referral culture requires technology now. For you to be able to give enough business consistently, you got to have resources and you got to have ways of communicating effectively. And it's not like you have to do this all face to face. When you leverage great technology like what you guys have, you've got the bedrock of both a referral culture that can bring referrals in, right? Because remember, it's all about a pipeline and a funnel. At the bottom of the funnel, which is where everyone wants referrals, the only place that you can do that predictably is software like yours.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot predict the human-to-human relationship unless you can get back up to the top of the funnel. Let human beings do the hard work of relationship development with prospects that aren't in the market, and then let technology leverage social networks, leverage these relationships you already have with customers to have those nice surprise referrals not be surprises anymore. That only works with technology. And that's what, when you talk about a CEO, Trisha, that CEO's got to be able to have a vision of a complete system so that they can, A, make sure they don't spend money on the wrong things all the time, the wrong training, the wrong advice, the wrong technology, the wrong software. But when you really get down to it, if a CEO lives and breathes referral culture, it'll bring in HR as well. You will hire differently when you have a real referral culture. When it's about raving fans, how can we be better? You will be looking to hire people that are more inclined to it. Here's the really good news. The younger generations coming up are really, really inclined toward these things. I am super excited about the millennials, and Generation Y, X. I'm just excited because these folks seem to be really oriented toward relationships. As a CEO, I would be looking to long-term strategically leverage how these folks' predilection to developing relationships could be powerful.
Absolutely. That's exciting news. So I really want to, in future conversations, let's dive into the different departments.
Sure.
Marketing, sales, the standard just employee, what is their role in this referral culture? So I definitely want to dive into that more, but let me try and sum up our conversation here today. Obviously we both know referrals need to be a priority on the CEO's radar because it's what they can do to break through the noise here, to really change up the way they're thinking about driving revenue and make it predictable and give you truly a way to get that growth objective that they're driving toward.
You have to.
Yeah, absolutely. And so in doing this, though, it's not just here, let me buy this technology. That can be an important foundational part of it, but it's really about driving a change within the organization across departments to be everyone playing their role in thinking about driving growth for the company. Can do it with just the smallest changes in attitude, for how they talk to customers, how they talk to partners, how they think about what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. And this is something that a CEO needs to be driving across departments, working with each department to build this moving forward. Does that sum it up well?
I think so.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today, Mike. And I'm looking forward to driving into, let's talk about sales next and what sales can do to help build a referral culture.
All right, cool. Thanks, Trish.
Thanks, Mike.